Hey guys, I'm Mr. Jr. here, aka Mustached Tom, and welcome to my review of My Little Pony, A New Generation. If you end up enjoying this review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out that link in the description. It will head you over to my Patreon page, and any donations will be greatly appreciated. And I'll be setting a reminder at the end of the review as well. With that out of the way, let's talk about My Little Pony, A New Generation. So, it should come as to very little surprise for anyone who's ever digged in my channel that way back when I was actually starting out on YouTube, pretty early on, I was reviewing the show, the previous generation, My Little Pony. You might call me a Brony if, back then. And for all intents and purposes, labels are like whatever to me, so sure, whatever. And I reviewed most of the episodes, and, it did what it did. It was a pleasant show that got a little repetitive at times. There are only so many themes a show can cover like that, since every episode felt the need to have a theme. And sometimes, especially in later seasons, that became an issue, particularly when they could have had it just apply to other characters. They neglected to that completely, but that's for another complaint. We're here to talk about the next generation, the new generation of My Little Pony. And it's been a while, so, my review style has changed quite drastically. My reviews are much more extensive, trying to be as objective as possible, little things like that have shifted. So with that out of the way, let's do it with this movie. And speaking of the previous generation, the movie does start off with the previous generation of the My Little Pony crew. So we get a quick cameo appearance from all the voice actors playing their iconic, I guess I'll call them at this point, since they were doing that show for quite a long time. I mean, the My Little Pony season, or Generation 4 went on for a decade almost of content, so quite a lot. So yeah, I would say I would use the word iconic, I suppose. Anyways, it starts off, and it seems like they're gonna go on some sort of new grand adventure, except one of the ponies goes nuts, Rarity specifically. But we cut away to three colts, or I should say 2 colts and a younger female pony. One is named Hitch, the yellow pony we see there on the poster. Our main character, Sunny, which is that orange pony at the bottom there. And a third pony, colt named Sprout. There we go. And his mom comes to pick up Sprout, and she has her dad. They're having some sort of sleepover or something, and they're playing with the little toy versions of the previous generation, and it's becoming pretty abundantly clear that there is a change or a shift in the way that ponies, in particular, we are following an Earth pony, sees Pegasus and unicorns, the winged ponies and the horned ponies, for those unfamiliar with those terms. And this seems odd, as the lore, I can't believe I have to bring up that word in this review, but the lore of My Little Pony is that when the 3 tribes, if we want to call them, that were separated, the Wendigos attacked every time. Unless when they defeated the Wendigos the last time, that was the ultimate destruction of the Wendigos, even though it seemed like the Wendigos were an infinite thing, but I guess not. I don't know. It's weird. So I guess they abandoned that little detail about that, but I guess for the purposes of this story, new continuity is being built here, so I don't know what to do with that. Except to point it out and say it was different before. Anywho, so she wants to bridge the gap, as the other two don't seem that very interested. So she sends a postcard on a little fairing candle float thing that she sends off. And she cleans up her room, has a little bedtime story about how all the three were connected. And when she wakes up, we cut to years later, so it transitions from her to being a little littler pony, and they even say the My Little Pony line, calling her a My Little Pony, literally. Cuts to her a few years later, now older, her dad assumably passing away, and her trying to live out both of their dreams, trying to help make them a unified collection. So, we cut to her singing her first song, of course, My Little Pony. Not too surprising that this is a musical. So I will say the music in this is a little more up-to-date, a little bit more snappy, if you will. Yeah, most of the songs seem to have that variety of being very poppy. There isn't a very, a very gruff song, or a super sad song, for example. It's always about characters lifting themselves up. Even when it's the antagonist song, it's very upbeat and up-tempo, and it's not, there's a little bit of interesting imagery. We'll talk a little bit more about that song when we get to it, but for the most part, in a general sense, I'm talking about the songs, again, have a more upbeat sort of style to them. So, in her first song, again, is about heading out in this town, trying to spread out her word. Sprout is trying to follow her, trying to make sure she's behaving. And she meets up with Hitch, who, again, all three of them are older. He's now some sort of deputy of this area. So we cut inside to the factory where we see Sprout's mom make an announcement about how they're making more gadgets to help them stay defended against other ponies, all these technological advances and whatnot. However, Sunny sets a protest, but ends up getting trapped instead. So, after that goes off, the three of them split off. And, Hitch is trying to keep everything together. However, in that moment, everything changes as a unicorn enters the fray. She introduces herself as Izzy, the unicorn. She has a upbeat, bubbly personality, and many people have already made the poster comparison of, Sunny being the very Twilight, the very studious, go-getter, the head honcho. Izzy would very undoubtedly be the Pinkie Pie of the situation, the very exuberant, very in-the-moment sort of character. And she stops, making a stop at a movie poster named Judgment Nay, making a reference to Terminator of all things. So, My Little Pony has an oddity for making those adult or older references for the people who know what, Judgment Day is a reference to, that being obviously Terminator. Anyway, so Sunny is inebriated by this chant, asking various questions, a little hesitantly at times, but she's overburdened by the same amount of joy as well that she gets to learn. again, very Twilight-esque, very studious in wanting to learn. So, the two, seeing that all these traps are going off, Sunny prompts them to head out. So, Izzy joins in on a song, their second song, with Sunny joining in, saying that they'll have each other's backs while they're out and about. Again, very preppy song, a very upbeat song. And Hitch decides that he's gonna go leave to get them back, to make sure that they get arrested for their being there in the first place. And in the meantime, Sprout gets promoted to sheriff while he's away. So, here is where they briefly meet the first Pegasi, the one on the left there. Zip, I believe her name is. And a very Rainbow Dash comparison can be made, sure. So we'll make it for us. So anyways, Zip, or Zephyr, her full name, I believe, is like out and about, trying to attempt to fly, and the other two are like trying to run from her, but these two guards catch up with the two that are currently on the run, and they get captured. So they get pulled into this town where all the flyers are, all the Pegasi are, and it seems like we are being treated to the news as another pony named Pip something. I'll just call her Pip for short. I believe that's what they call her for short anyway. The very song-oriented pony. Very fabulous. So she is the very rarity of the movie, but in a more up-to-date. Instead of being into fashion, she's into the Instagram, or the Instagram equivalent in My Little Pony world. As she's literally making her song known to the town when the news gives their update. So, as this is going on, we cut back to Sprout, who's getting ready to develop the town and to transfer it into a town of attack, which introduces our villain song about him and his pony, or Earth ponies, being in a very mob style song. Again, while upbeat, I will say the imagery is a little bit interesting. The way the ponies march is might be equivocated to something. I'm not sure if YouTube is friendly with, you know, certain type of marching stuff, so I'm not sure if I can even mention it at this, but, you know, I'll just say it. I could say it's very much akin to The Lion King, that song, Be Prepared. It's kind of like that, except upbeat. And in fact, it's probably the only song in terms of its beat or tempo that reminds me of some other song, but I don't recall what it is. I just know that they use the word mob a lot in the song. Anyway, so Zip, the white-ish pony with the colorful hair, joins the two of them as they were brought to a prison, and joins them and helps them escape. Meanwhile, Hitch, being the very Fluttershy, except he's a deputy, since animals seem to always gather around him, again, very Fluttershy in that sense. He's trying to gather clues, and the animals are just sort of naturally helping him. I guess his cutie mark revolves around it, even though he seems to be more equipped to do with the deputy stuff that he seems to be very proud of, or whatever. Anyway, So, they find out about this stuff about friendship and all the good stuff. Zip shows that they can't properly fly as she's sort of taking them around. And during this, we learn about our MacGuffins, I should say, plural, in this movie. And one of them is possessed by the Queen, her mom. So they need to take it from her in order to restore friendship or something along those lines. So Zip tries to get the two of them in. They manage to get in. And Hitch is also making his way there from the clues. So we have a fiasco of things going on when we reach our party, where Pip is doing the singing. There's a chase going on, and in the in the chaos of it all, the flyers are shown off to be faking it, and they sort of get booed out of town. The mom is captured, apparently. Meanwhile, as we're cutting back to our villain, he takes over his mom's entire factory. All the while, now our 5 ponies, all of them are in the poster, are all together, making their way out of escaping, barely getting the gem because Izzy brought it over. Anyways, getting back to it, as the 5 of them, as I was mentioning, come across a broken bridge, they decide to rest up when they cross to the other side, after some arguing a little bit about what they're attempting to do, but they manage to pull through and get to the other side and break for camp. During the night, Izzy pulls out the very card we saw at the beginning, so she was the one that received Sunny's card, so probably the most convenient thing in the movie, but, you know, whatever. So, it is at this point, Hitch has, up until this point, been trying to capture Sunny, but he decides that he is seeing all this camaraderie among the other 4, so he decides to officially join them in their journey into trying to bring friendship back through the magic of this MacGuffin that they possess, one of. And they learn that there is a second, so they're heading off to the Unicorn Lands. Meanwhile, as they're traveling, Izzy sings about the rumors about, and Hitch does a little bit of a sing-along too, and Sunny joins in as well. After the fact, during mid-song is probably the only time that the musical shift happens, and that is when Izzy starts to rap about, about the situation, about what they're trying to do. Anyways, after her little rap in style is done, and after the song is complete, they make their way to the Unicorn Land. And they see that all of these particular ponies, they're all super bummed out. All of them are glum. And we learn that there are, within these parts, the words that are certainly forbidden, such as magic and all that stuff. So, after learning that little bit of clue, Sunny steps up to a game where she sees the second piece of the gem, but it's hidden behind some older guy pony who it seems to be a collector of sorts through this game, I guess, do the puzzle faster than he does. But since the prize was high, he decides that he's gonna play Sunny in this advanced game. So the two of them step up to the second out-of-reference thing, Just Prance. Obviously a pun on Just to Dance. So Sunny barely manages to eke out a victory at the third quarter, or the third, I guess, take of the dancing. However, their celebratory party gestures remove their disguises, and the getting their disguises on, by the way, was another song. I forget where that happens, and it happens before they get in here, obviously, but they all have unicorn horns by the time they get in here. And they have a whole song about that. Anyway, they get called out for not being unicorns. So yeah, and Hitch, remembering all the words, uses all of them simultaneously, and causes all the ponies to freak out. And it just so happens that the Queen has made her escape and made her way there, to them. So the Pegasi pony and the unicorns all meet up, and they're starting to clash and yell at each other about what's, invasions and, who's responsible and all this stuff. So Sunny, in the middle of all this with all of her friends, tries to explain that what they're trying to do and, trying to bring back the magic, and her determination alone with the others seems to be getting the others a little bit more curious now. So they eventually decide to give her the other part of the crystal. So the two of them are now combined. However, nothing seems to happen, making Sunny distraught, and she returns both crystals to each pony respectively and makes her way home, completely just giving up. Hitch tries to comfort her in her way home as this is happening, and all the others are attempting to catch up as well. But as she makes her way home, wanting to be left alone, she starts to move things around and in this messy pile that she notices, and notices this table that she didn't ever notice before has a very particular shape in it. And she finds a third piece of the gem, the third piece of the MacGuffin, and places it into this little hole that's in the table, or a part of it. And it seems like the other two pieces are needed, so now it clicks, her spark, her drive to get this done, bringing these pieces together, is reignited. However, while all that's going on, Sprout is making a speech, and Hitch is trying to figure out what's going on with Sunny in tow as her and him catch up, and Sprout they sort of migrate toward him, and he pulls out his giant mech robot. So, while he's getting ready for his attack, Sunny tries to make her way all the way back, trying to get back to the gems. She gets the gems pretty easily this time, after saying how how there was a missing piece, so they're like, oh, sure. And the other ponies were apparently making their way there, so they're like halfway there. So Sunny meets up with them. However, Sprout is already engaging in his attack. So now all the ponies have to deal with this. Sunny runs past all of the nonsense, back to her tower, is trying to put the pieces back, but keeps failing. And Sunny seems to be very explicit in charging. So he's knocking out the tower. She gets to the tower. She manages to combine all the pieces very, very briefly, but nothing seems to happen even when that happens. So the tower, after the attack, falls, and Sprout, now realizing what he has done, feels bad, and is never really properly punished, not even by Mom, which is a little bit, yeah, a little bit of a, on that one. Anyway, So Sunny, realizing that the three MacGuffins didn't really do anything, she says that they didn't need them, and that they can just have the friendship without any of the MacGuffins there. So all the other ponies that are there present are all agreeing, and all things seem to be setting good. However, now that all this friendship is emanating from them, the three MacGuffins seem to activate, and it causes a rainbow to have to shoot out. And the MacGuffin, as it turns out, did not, it wasn't the thing that was designed to fix the friendship. However, it was the friendship that ignited the MacGuffin that allowed her to become an alicorn by the end of the movie. So this is news to me. This is the first time that I've ever seen this happen in My Little Pony. An Earth Pony became an alicorn, so I guess it is this sort of ascension that can become possible by anybody, question mark? I don't know. It's a new generation of My Little Pony. I'm sure there's going to be new rules. In her becoming an alicorn, as she flies off with her friends, and the others are chasing along, and we cut away to the credits. It is unclear if or when this will bump off into a mini-series or an actual new generation series revolving on these five. That seems to be like where they're trying to take this, but I'm not entirely sure. It's completely possible, but at any rate, out at the end of the movie, we see three little ponies, Earth Pony, an Alicorn, and a Pegasi, all playing together as they fly and walk and trot and chase each other all over, as their magic, each of their magic brightens up respectively, that being an alicorn or a unicorn's horn, a Pegasi's wings, and an Earth Pony's hooves are magical, I guess, is the indication by the very last shot of the Earth Pony trotting along the furthest behind, but he's leaving the magical trail. And that was the end of My Little Pony: A New Generation. And for the most part, this movie is pretty wholesome, which isn't really a surprise, it being My Little Pony. And it's weird. It actually, for a show that was here for a very long time, My Little Pony, the previous generation, was a slice of life that had a little bit of action and adventure along the way. And for the most part, was a pretty enjoyable show. Well, the beginning of it, or the middle of it, was the most entertaining part, or interesting part, of that show. But what became pretty clear to me watching this movie is that, at least comparative to a lot of other movies I've seen, this seems to be a lot more wholesome than a lot of the other movies I've been seeing. It has a lot more going for it, or, I wouldn't say it's as good as Vivo, which is like one of the top movies I've seen this year, which is shocking considering that was Sony, of all companies. So, and I usually don't expect much from Sony, but that was a surprise for me. So, seeing My Little Pony come back, and even with a new generation in tow, this movie was, again, pretty wholesome. There's some obvious MacGuffery going about, and some conveniences here and there, but I would say overall, it's pretty good. Which is, it has to establish a lot, all things considered. It did not have the luxury of the show of, slow burning the characters throughout a season and teaching them lessons within a season. It had to introduce 5 new characters in one movie, which, you got a little glimpse of their personalities, and again, I pointed to which ponies are kind of like the other ponies from the previous generation, with the slight altercations being the things that they are. Outside of that, yeah, pretty good. In terms of a score, I'd probably give it like the closest thing to a 7, which would be a 6, out of 10. So there, a few extra conveniences, which is why I primarily drop it down to the 6. The MacGuffin thing was a little interesting to me, because usually a MacGuffin usually affects the plot directly, but this seems to be more of a it doesn't affect the plot necessarily. It obviously affects one of the characters, making her an alicorn, but that happens directly at the end of the movie, and again, it doesn't affect the plot. So I would say it's probably not the worst set of MacGuffins I've ever seen, since, again, it doesn't affect the plot directly. And again, we shall see what this brings, if it does bring indeed a new season of My Little Pony, a new generation of My Little Pony. With that being said, that is my review of My Little Pony, A New Generation, and if you ended up enjoying it, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you to my Discord server, the second to my Patreon page. Any donations are greatly appreciated, and until next time, everyone, bye-bye.